Al. That's, there's every now and then it happens. Even though I have the video all lined up, ready to play, it doesn't open properly. So we're going to try again. Oh.
What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Awakening World. I'm Love Coach Scott Thomas. I am your host for tonight's show, and it's another edition of our Making Contact series, which means I've got a fabulous co-host, and that's the great Alan Steinfeld. Welcome, Alan.
Thanks, Scott. Great to be here with you. Always nice to do more Making Contact, and we have an incredible crew with us today. I'm going to try to get my main computer working so I can show some clips, but I'm real excited to do these shows because things are moving fast in the UFO world, and particularly this show is dedicated to Contact in the Desert, one of my favorite events. It probably is my favorite event. We expect that couple of thousand people, May 30th to June 3rd in Indian Wells, California. We have the producer of that show with us tonight, and a few other really fantastic UFO people. So I'm excited about tonight's show. Thanks, Scott.
Absolutely. Alan, I'm going to go to Omashar for a song, giving you more time to get your computer together.
Great.
So with no further ado, everybody, we like to start the show with music and with our beloved brother, our house musical artist, Omashar.
In your mind you have capacities to know, to telepath messages through the vast unknown. Please close your eyes and concentrate with every thought you think upon the recitation we're about to sing. Calling occupants of interplanetary craft. Calling occupants of interplanetary most extraordinary craft. Calling occupants of interplanetary craft. are your friends, calling occupants of interplanetary craft, calling occupants of interplanetary craft, calling occupants of interplanetary ultra emissary craft. We've been observing your Earth, and one night we'll make contact with you. We are your friends, calling occupants of interplanetary craft, calling occupants of interplanetary quite extraordinary craft. Please come in peace, we beseech you. Our Earth may never survive. Please, interstellar policeman, oh, won't you give us a sign that we've reached you? Oh, with your mind you have ability to form and transmit thought energy far beyond the norm. You close your eyes, concentrate, together that's the way to send the message we declare will contact day. Calling occupants of interplanetary craft, calling occupants of interplanetary craft, calling occupants of interplanetary most extraordinary craft. We've been observing your Earth. One night we'll make contact with you. We are your friends.
Awesome.
That is my favorite song. That was done by the Carpenters in the 70s. It was for this thing called World Contact Day. It was written from the message that Colin Andrews received on a radio from ETs. Those are some of the words. And so that's a fantastic song. Thank you, Omar Shah. It's
No, brother, I love it too. I loved it. The original version is amazing. Holy smoke! When you should YouTube it and check it out because it really is phenomenal. However, hopefully I did it some kind of justice there.
You know, I use that song when I'm going to do CE5s. I take people out, we play that song, and we make contact. So
Nice. Yes. It was actually interesting. Zasha's here from Waiheke Island, and Waiheke Island was probably the first time I saw UAPs. So, yeah.
There we have it.
we have a great UAP show here tonight, don't we, Scott?
We do. And I want to welcome everybody who's watching. And I want to welcome everybody who's watching on all of our different broadcast partners, including as many as 150 Facebook groups and pages. And watching the recording of this. And we are going to be going into talking more and more about our experiences. And I want to acknowledge that several of our Zoom members have already shared a little bit about some of their experiences. So, you know, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to, after we hear from a couple of our experts, we're going to actually open it up to the group. So anybody who is watching on Facebook, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Anybody who's watching on Facebook, I'm going to change to my Global Peace Tribe logo. Come and join us. It's really, really easy. Come and join the Zoom room. And now's a really good time because we have a new registration program where if you register today, you can get the Zoom room links to all of our shows for the next 5 months. We do 2 or 3 shows every week. We have amazing presenters. This last week, we had Marianne Williamson. We're going to have great people you're going to see tonight. And it's easy. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com. Globalpeacetribe.com. Click register for the new season. That'll take you to our registration page. That's not quite what we're supposed to go to, but we'll make sure that it does go to the proper place. And so definitely come join the Global Peace Tribe. Then you can come into the Zoom room and be with us and ask questions and interact with us. We are an amazing community of people that have kind of gathered together, and every show is all about inspiration and information. And that's really, I think Alan, my co-host here, has New Realities TV, and you've been doing this, and you've got a lot of subscribers and a lot of amazing experiences, and you wrote the book on making contact. So for anybody who's not familiar with it, tell us a little bit about the book and then what we're going to be doing tonight.
Well, the book is an overview of the UFO phenomena. It's a collection of essays. Most of those people, I'd say all those people, are going to be at Contact in the Desert in Indian Wells at the end of May. And so I put together a book that gives a kind of summation of the phenomena, because nobody has the whole picture. And that's why it's so beautiful to come together with thousands of people. It's not just the speakers, it's the community there that is really dynamic and alive and cutting edge. It's really exciting, and I'm so happy we have the captain of the spaceship here with us today. But my book is a kind of preview of the UFO phenomena, and I should show a little clip. Are we ready for that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Last year ended on a really high note. Last year at Contact in the Desert, it was June 5th, and that was the time this whistleblower came out, and I gathered some people just at the end of Contact in the Desert to talk about what happened. So I'm not going to go through that whole thing, but I'm going to show you what the excitement was like there. I think, let's see, this is it here. Okay, let me see. Does that come up on your screen there?
Yes, it does.
Okay, here it goes. This is
Welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld. I just returned from Contact in the Desert, which is an incredible gathering of UFO experts from around the world in Indian Wells, California. And on the last day, June 5th, all the experts were still left when we got the news we've been waiting 75 years for.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, publicly, we are not alone. We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points empirically that we're not alone, yeah.
Welcome to a very important moment in history. I have assembled with me the top experts in the UFO field here on June 5th, 2023 at the last day of Contact in the Desert, where news broke this morning about a whistleblower revealing secrets, now not secrets, that there's crash retrievals in the possession of the U.S. government, and he has come out due to a new law that allows whistleblowers to break their NDAs, and this is historic.
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will. We have spacecraft from another species. We do, yeah. How many? Quite a number. You're kidding. Now, if you're right, if you're telling us the truth, everyone, the entire American public, has been lied to for decades. Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral. Do we have bodies? Do we have species? Well, naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true. Everybody watching this right now is looking at your face. They're going, is this guy for real? I am for real. And I'm sitting here at great personal risk and obvious professional risk by talking to you today.
The story about David Gersh, the whistleblower who just came forward, was first released in the morning of June 5th in the online news magazine, The Debrief, written by the journalist who brought us the breakthrough story in the New York Times, December 16th, 2017, Leslie King. and rough Blumenthal. The mood was festive as the top UFO experts gathered to discuss this moment that we've been waiting for 75 years. Steve Bassett, you've been following this story.
We have Steve Bassett here, so I don't have to do that. But that was what we're coming into this contact with that edge, that excitement. So people are coming together after a year to talk about, this was the shoe dropping. This is what we've been waiting for. So I'm really happy Ron Janix is here, because he really is the captain of the starship to take us into contact in the desert. Are we ready for Ron, Scott?
Absolutely. Hey, welcome, Ron, to the Awakening World.
Right. Oh, unmute, Ron. Unmute. Thank you.
I unmuted him.
Good.
Am I good?
Yes, you're good. So, you know, you were captain a long time before you took over this starship. It really came out of that last show with a real high. So what's going on this year that you have planned?
Absolutely. Well, this year, you know, as a 10-year anniversary, we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Contact. So we're really excited about it, and we have more speakers than ever. We have 75 different speakers. We have more panels than ever. We have 14 panels with 6 people each on each one. So it's a really kind of extended version of Contact in the Desert, if you will. And, you know, it's kind of become an annual thing where people sort of look forward. Like you said earlier, Alan, Contact has been my favorite event for years and years and years before I was this involved in it. And it's just a great thing for the community. It's a great way to interact with the speakers. It's a great way for the speakers to interact with each other. And I really think it moves the subject further.
Right. And we are further along than ever in the Contact experience, but it's not just disclosure that happens there. People who've had experiences are free to share. I mean, there's no other place you can go and say, yeah, I was taken aboard a ship, and everyone say, yeah, tell us about it. I mean, this is a really great atmosphere.
Absolutely. And we have the experiencer group where people get together and share their stories. And we take over the entire resort for 5 days. So it's not like there's other people there. So if you talk about your experience, people are going to welcome it. And they're going to probably tell you that they've had an experience of some kind, or at least they're curious and interested in the subject.
And you have some special events coming up. I know you're doing a trip out to the Integratron. You're also premiering the Species Almanac, aren't you? That new film.
We have 4 new films that we're going to world premiere each night. There's going to be a new one. And then we even have like a bus tour with Mark D'Antonio and Ben Hansen out into the desert outside of the light pollution. And they're going to explain like what's happening in the solar system and how to recognize what a satellite is and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of other ancillary things that happen as well.
And the best experts in the field, like Linda Moulton Howe, Richard Dolan, and for the first time, because I've been there all 10 years, George Knapp, who is the premier journalist in the field. How'd you get George?
Very excited to get George Knapp. I just got lucky. He's willing to do it. I'm very excited about having him there. I think he's one of the most important voices in our community. Plus, Danny Sheehan's going to be there, just like he was last year, of course. Another super important voice in the community. So, you know, having those guys there just makes it so special. And they have the latest, newest information. So you're not going to get anything better than those guys, with Richard Dolan and Danny Sheehan giving you what's going on right now. Not to mention Steve Bassett, who'll be coming up here.
Yeah, is Steve in the room? I hope he is. I hope he shows up somewhere. I'll call him again. But Steve is following the disclosure process for at least 30 years. He's in Washington. He's talking to senators, Congress people. He is, I call him the hardest working guy in the phenomena. You know, he really is at it.
He's as knowledgeable about this as anyone as far as disclosure is concerned, and he's on top of it. He posts all the articles in mainstream media about this topic, which is amazing.
Right. Now, we need people like this. And the one thing that we learned from Contact in the Desert, it's really a people's movement. We can't expect Congress, lawmakers, even the mainstream media to touch it. It's a grassroots movement, and it starts at Contact in the Desert. It really does start there. So
I feel that way, and I don't feel we're going to get government disclosure. Steve's going to tell you the opposite, but I don't feel that we're going to get that. So in the meantime, we should do everything we can as a populace to move this forward. And you know, a lot of people feel like we have had disclosure.
Yeah. Well, it's like consensus reality. We, of course, a lot of people have had experiences, but when the government, it's like the church in the Middle Ages saying, yes, the earth is not the center of the galaxy. Some people need that official word saying we're not alone in the universe to wake them up. But that's why it has to be a people's movement. People come to contact in the desert, they tell their friends, they tell their family, and people say, really? Because it's now being taken seriously. You're absolutely right.
It definitely is. And this can be a life-changing thing for people. People have told us even last year how this really affected them. It had a profound effect on them. I know it did for me the first time I went to it. It's really a great thing. And we try to, we do a lot of work, and we set the program obviously, but we try to sort of leave it to the fates, if you will. Like, we pick the speakers and everything, but we kind of want them to talk about what they're working on. And we don't want to try to force this. We kind of let it sort of organically happen and just kind of, unfold. And each year something new happens, sort of each one has its own little feel,
Well, you're getting Russell Targ there, who is slightly off the track, but connected. The whole consciousness awakening is very connected to the UFO phenomena because...
Absolutely. And there's a physicist who tells me that he believes that consciousness survives death. That's pretty cool from a hard science guy like that. Very interesting.
Not only that, if consciousness survives death, then I think consciousness is the medium of communication between us and the life out there, because we're conscious on that level. So that's one of the reasons I'm really happy you put a remote viewing panel in the contact experience. And Russell's...
Absolutely.
And the spiritual, there is a spiritual component as well to this phenomena. People, when they wake up to the fact there's more to this reality than what they think, they realize there's dimensions of reality. And this is also where some of the government documents are pointing to a kind of interdimensional quality. And
I think a lot of people in the community believe that more. That seems to be moving that way. And the other thing it's similar is, to me, now that we have AI, we have a big component of AI at Contact in the Desert. I think that could play a role here. I think it's more likely than not that another civilization would send an artificial intelligence computer across the galaxy in a probe rather than a biologic being first. That's what we're going to do.
It's so interesting. We're really in a time of change. We're in an epoch of change. It reminds me of the Renaissance. What built the Renaissance was a different type of movable type. They had a different type of written language suddenly, and we have a different type of language. And there was this discovery by Europeans of this whole new world, a new continent, and we're discovering this whole new world. So I predict the UFO phenomenon will lead to a renaissance of a human civilization in biology, technology, right?
Sure, everything. I mean, just look at how artificial intelligence is going to affect every aspect of our lives right around the corner. I mean, by next year at Contact, it's going to be a whole new ball game. We're going to do a live Turing test this year at Contact, which will be fun because it'll be like, is that AI or is that a human being? And can you tell? By next year or the year after, it's going to be completely meaningless to have a Turing test because you won't be able to tell.
Yeah. Scott, you want to jump in? The Turing test.
Absolutely. Well, you've been doing a great job, and it's good to have you with us, Captain Ron. I want to just remind people how they can get involved. There's a couple of ways. We're going to take a look at how to attend, and then we're going to take a look at how to do it online. So for attending, go to contactinthedesert.com. That's pretty. We've got such a who's who of speakers. So I'm actually going to pull that up for a moment and take a look at all the amazing people. And by the way, about half of these people have been on the show. Danny Sheehan was on 2 weeks ago. We're going to show an excerpt of that clip. And so a lot of these are people that I know. Caroline Corey has been on the show many, many times. Linda Moulton Howe, I've known her since the mid-'80s. Everybody's going to be there, even Daniel Brinkley. And of course, JG and Desiree, they were on the show recently. Adam Apollo, old friend. Stephen Bassett's going to hopefully be with us tonight. You've got an amazing group of people that are going to be there. Sarah Brexman, Kim Carlsberg. I had her when I was producing on the Paranormal Borderline way back in the 90s. Lisa Garr, good friend, on the show all the time. And there was, of course, there's Alan.
These are the superstars. These are our superstars. These are the Michael Jordans of our league, Scott. You know, they really are the superstars.
It really is great to bring them all together and let them kind of exchange their ideas and what they're working on and what you know, the latest stuff that they've discovered and uncovered.
Yeah, and when you've got that many experts in the field together, it just raises the consciousness and it makes it safe for people to share their experiences. As we both know, almost everyone has had some form of a mystical experience, whether it's seeing a craft or having a powerful lucid dream or seeing a spirit. And when I've been to Contact in the desert, I've been there twice. It's just this incredible opportunity where everybody can talk about their experiences without judgment. And the more we talk about it and believe it and own it, the more likely we are to have an experience. And therefore, out in the desert, the CE5s and the things that people see and experience are more likely to take place.
And the community that comes together, I feel a sense of love and camaraderie in that. I mean, it's palpable. Don't you think so, Ron, when you're there?
Listen, you know me, I'm not that touchy-feely guy, but man, there is an energy at Contact that is absolutely palatable. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's real. It's very real. I feel it every time. I mean, I felt it when I just went there. I went there by myself. I didn't know anybody 10 years ago. I went there and I felt it then, and I feel it every time. And I think it's really an incredible thing. And hopefully everybody can join us. And yeah, I think Scott was mentioning that we're going to do things differently this year where you can buy tickets and come in person, which is the best. But if you can't, we're going to offer a online version this year, which we've never done before. So if you can't make it there, you can get virtual tickets. There it is. And they've done an incredible job. The company that's doing this, they're going to show all of the panels. So there's 14 different panels, plus there's behind the scenes stuff. And look at all these different events. They're going to show a lot of this on camera. They're going to do behind the scenes with me. Like right before I introduce somebody, I'm going to talk to the camera, then go on stage and introduce people. So you're going to feel really part of the conference, and there's going to be a live chat room going the entire time. So this is something new we're going to try to kind of bring more people in and expose more people to this information.
That's great. And $199 is a very, very reasonable price for an online ticket for that many presenters, that much going on. That's beautiful.
This is a very mission-driven thing. Gordon Peckrell is the main owner of this, and you know, he really has been affected by this topic, and he really wants people to get exposed to it and we want to get more people involved, more people to know about this, and you know, it'll just kind of trickle down as you guys know, it kind of spreads.
Yeah. I want to ask you one last question, Ron. What makes you so passionate about this topic? What does it do for you?
You know, I can't tell you that. I don't know, but I do love it. I genuinely care about it. I genuinely want to know what's really happening before I die. That's what drives me. And the thing that happens to me that is so surreal is the synchronicity thing. I think we've talked about that before, Alan. Synchronicities happen to me that are so... The fact that I landed where I did to get this was a synchronicity. And the way that these things happen, you cannot tell me it's by chance and it's a coincidence. I don't believe that. I don't. I am convinced that there's something more to it. And that alone, that belief makes me much more open to a lot of these things. So that's where I sit.
Beautiful.
You know, I have to say, for me, what is so exciting about this is that there's no answers right now. All we are is exploring. We are exploring some new unknown reality. And it is the most intellectually challenging, intuitively exciting. It just puts us full on, like when you're engaged this topic. I can't think of anything I'd be interested besides this. This is
I can't
like,
believe the whole world's not. I really can't. I don't know why we don't flip on the TV. They're talking about all the nonsense that they are. Why aren't they talking about this?
this is a game changer for humanity, Scott. That's why contact in the desert is so important. That's why this moment in time with the whistleblowers in Congress and what Danny Sheehan's doing, it changes everything.
Which is why we're doing the show tonight and why we do a Making Contact edition every few months. And it's because this is huge. And, the awakening world is all about how our planet is awakening. And we do have to focus on the environmental part of it, the political part of it. I always enjoy when we get to focus on this part of the awakening, which is really finally recognizing our ET brothers and sisters. And that's what tonight's show is all about. Ron, great to meet you. Thank you for what you do. I'm not going to be at Contact this year, but I think I'm going to buy that package so I can tune into parts of it.
Awesome.
And it's great to have you with us. And everybody, let's all appreciate Ron for all the work it takes to put together an event like this. It's huge.
Thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate you having me on, and hopefully you guys can make it.
We're going to go to gallery view and give you a twinkle. That's what we do, John.
There we go.
Twinkle
Thanks.
our friends and appreciate all the
Really
people
appreciate it, guys.
that are doing what it takes.
Thank you very much.
It's a year's worth of work that you put into making these things happen. So
It is.
Yep. Hope you can enjoy it.
Thanks so much.
All right, take care, Ron.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Hey, Alan, I'm going to go ahead and show the Danny Sheehan clip, but while I'm doing
is Steve Bassett?
you got to check if you can call Stephen Bassett and see what's happening. All right. So 2 weeks ago, we did a whole show with Danny Sheehan. Many of you saw it. I'm going to show about a 15, 20-minute clip from that show. But for those of you who don't know Danny, just again, a brief introduction. This guy is like the great unsung hero of our time. He's the attorney who always represents the little guy against the big guy. He's the attorney who represents David versus Goliath, going all the way back to Karen Silkwood. They made an entire movie about Karen Silkwood. She was murdered because of what she knew. And he was her attorney before she was killed. When they made the movie, Meryl Streep played Karen Silkwood. He represented Daniel Ellsberg in the Pentagon Papers. He represented the indigenous people at Standing Rock. And now he's representing the government whistleblowers who are coming forward and sharing what they know. And so he did a whole 2-hour program live with us at the Sunrise Center, which we then broadcast, of course, to our Awakening World audience on April 22nd. I've selected what I think is kind of a critical piece of what we're talking about today, which is where things really stand with government disclosure. So with no further ado, here we go with a really important excerpt of the very latest. This is from 3 weeks ago from Danny Sheehan.
This is extraordinarily important. Here it is here. This is the 64-page bill sponsored by Chuck Schumer, right here, okay? The majority leader of the United States Senate. And it's co-sponsored by Mike Rounds, the extremely conservative United States Republican senator from South Dakota, okay? Whose co-senator in South Dakota, John Thune, is the one who is likely to be getting ready to take the place of Mitch McConnell when Mitch McConnell steps down as the minority leader in the Senate. So we've gotten ourselves structured so that this bill actually is the gold standard. This is the compromise that has been struck among all the different negotiations that have gone on to put together the 64-page. It commands, by Congress, commands all 6 of the United States military services, Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, the new Space Force, all of the major Marine Corps, all of the major military services, and all 18 of the United States intelligence agencies. all 32 of the United States Defense Department agencies, and all of the private aerospace corporations who have come into possession of any information whatsoever pertaining to the UFO phenomenon and to the non-human intelligence that is associated with the UFO phenomenon, commands them to turn over every single piece of information they have and have ever had since January 1st of 1945.
Wow.
To turn this over to the Congress and to turn over to the National Archives. And it's going to be put in there, and they're commanded within 300 days of the passage of the statute to compile all of this information into a digital format with an index that is searchable through computers, and to turn it over to the National Archives so that the members of the Senate Intelligence Committee and House Intelligence Committee and Oversight Committee can inspect this information. And what the bill provides for is that every single piece of information, every email, every phone call, every internal memo, every investigative memo that they've got, every field report, every photograph of every single crash recovery, that it has to be turned over within 300 days of the passage of the statute, which was dated on December 22nd of 2023. Right, so that falls on October 18th, a date a little known to anybody in the country right now, but on October 18th of this year, it's mandated that every single piece of information that is 25 years old or more has to be immediately turned over to the public. Okay, unless the President of the United States himself specifically intervenes and prohibits it and postpones the immediate release of that piece of information. And it mandates that he would then have to give an account of why it is he's postponing this. But the fact is, even that information has to be released within a 7-year period. And all the other information that is newer than 25 years also has to be put into a special program. Then there's going to be appointed by the president a 9-person board of review of all of those records that are 25 years or younger. And they're going to review all of them with the presumption that every single piece of such information is going to be revealed to the public. Okay? This is an absolutely extraordinary piece of legislation. And it is office that is referred to specifically in the statute as the UAP Disclosure Foundation, which we own the domain for here out of the New Paradigm Institute, that are responsible for nominating to the president who the members of that 9-person board are going to be. Okay, you know, and this is quite extraordinary. I mean, this puts you into direct contact through the New Paradigm Institute with the process by means of which those people will be selected. Okay, and these people then also, in addition to making the decision as to which of the information that is newer than 25 years old is going to be revealed to the public, which they're authorized to do. Again, unless the president himself intervenes, and that's going to be Joe Biden between now October 18th is what the date is that this decision has to be made pursuant to the statute, right? And that they have the authority to mandate the public release of that information, all right? Unless the president intervenes. So that is what is provided for in this particular statute, 64 pages long, and it was passed unanimously by the United States Senate Intelligence Committee. All 17 members of the Senate Intelligence Committee, all 9 members of the Democratic Party, and all 8 members of the Republican Party in the United States Senate unanimously approved this decision, is to go through this thing. In addition to doing all that, they are assigned the responsibility, the 9-person board, to actually design a UFO controlled disclosure campaign. to be undertaken by the president. Okay, and that this is going to go on for a period of 7 years to reveal this information to the world. Now, this is an absolutely paradigm shattering event that is actually being proposed by the United States Senate. Now, what happened is that this passed virtually unanimously in the United States Senate, with only 11 votes against it, which were primarily votes against some other part of the National Defense Authorization Act, actually, not even opposing to this. Okay, and so what happened is it went over to the House side. In the House, the Republican head of the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, a man named Michael Turner, who is out of the 10th Congressional District in Ohio, ended up saying he was opposed to this being passed. It turns out that he comes from the Congressional District in Ohio, which is the Congressional District of the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is the biggest Air Force base in the world, and it is the base to which the crash saucer at Roswell was taken, according to the telegram that was in the hand of General Ramey, which was photographed actually that night. Okay, and then he has recruited the Republican head of the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, whose name is Michael Rogers, who is from the 3rd Congressional District over in Alabama, door to the Congressional District where the Redstone arsenal is, the Redstone rocket range, where they're actually trying to develop a major top secret program called Prompt Global Strike, where they're trying to utilize the propulsion system of the technology that's been recovered from the UFO spacecraft to propel United States nuclear missiles, so that they can launch a missile from the United States and hit into the heart of Russia or China in 2 minutes. An absolute first strike nuclear weapon that totally destroys the entire geopolitical structure that has been put together over decades to prevent first strike nuclear weapons from being developed. So that these people are in fact attempting to back engineer the technology from the recovered UFO spacecraft to make weapons in complete violation of the nuclear non-first strike treaties that exist. So what's happening now is because of the opposition of these two men, of Michael Turner, the Republican head of the House Intelligence Committee, and this guy Michael Rogers, they have joined together to get Mike Johnson, who is this new hanging by his fingernails Speaker of the House that you've heard so little about. This is the guy who refused to put this bill onto the floor of the House, even though basically out of the 435 members of the House of Representatives, like 430 of them support this bill. But he will not put it on the floor because their campaigns are being paid for by the private aerospace industry. Okay, because it turns out that the district Huntsville, where the Michael Rogers comes from, is the major international headquarters for Radiance Technology, which is the private aerospace corporation that is trying to develop Prompt Global Strike. Okay, so that what we're looking at here is that this most extraordinary piece of information about the existence of an extraterrestrial civilization with people that are vastly more advanced than we are technologically is being held secret so they can make weapons out of this program. Okay, and not allow us to even know about the existence of this civilization, to read us out and to read out all of Congress and even to read out presidents from knowing about this. That means that the national security state is completely out of control here. It's out from under all constitutional constraints. And so that we as citizens have to organize from an upward, positive, forward perspective to promulgate the positive features of reaching out to the stars here, to reaching out to the members of an extraterrestrial civilization, to try to establish peaceful relations with them. diplomatic corps of people organized and working to reach out and establish diplomatic relations with these people in the face of this major effort on the part of these very narrow groups of people that are being financed by the private aerospace industry that wants to get patent rights on the technology so that they can own it in perpetuity. So that another 1,000 years from now, you know, if anybody wants to build an interstellar spacecraft, you're going to have to pay these guys through the nose for the technology because they own it. You know, that's what they're trying to do right now. Okay, so it's extraordinarily important that our citizens mobilize and rise up. But we know perfectly well, as we've known over a 50-year period, that our regular people aren't that organized. The people aren't every day spending their time figuring out how to get Congress to do something. So the New Paradigm Institute has been created. And we now have a website up where all you have to do is go to newparadigminstitute.org and just put in your name and your zip code, and you just push a button. And automatically a letter will go to both of your United States senators and your congressperson telling them that you support their desire to get this information released, that you support their efforts to do this, okay? And to tell them to put pressure on these people in the, you know, and this Johnson, you know, who's the Speaker of the House, you know, put the pressure on them to get this full bill passed.
They did pass.
So it's important to point out that they passed 24 pages of this. Okay, this was a 64-page bill, but they passed 24 pages of it, which very importantly contains the command for them to gather all this information together from all those same agencies and to put it into the same digital recovery system and to have it available as of October 18th to be delivered to the Library of Congress. That this is in fact going on right now, and so the clock is running right in front of us. The problem is that they have drawn out of this 64-page bill 40 pages which contain the enforcement provisions. That what do you do if they basically thumb their nose at Congress and refuse to turn over the information? We know that when the United States Congress ordered them to, for example, turn over the videotapes of the torture sessions at Abu Ghraib, that the Central Intelligence Agency destroyed them after having gotten the subpoena to do it. He said, yeah, so what are you going to do to me about it? The answer was they did nothing about it. And so that what we got to do is make sure the Congress stands up on its hind feet and puts the 40 pages back in that contain the enforcement provisions of this, so that when the October 18th deadline, and I got distracted and I had to go to the funeral of the horse and I wasn't able to do the homework. You know, I mean, that's the kind of routine that we're expecting here, unless we get these 40 pages put back in. So it's really necessary to have this mobilization. And the New Paradigm Institute is going to be establishing these Citizens for Disclosure action groups in all 435 of the congressional districts.
Oh.
In a major state office in every one of the 50 states. And we're going to be mobilizing, we're going to be preparing documents and information for people in every single one of those 435 offices, so that they can in fact know what to say to their people, to get familiar with what the constituencies are in their area, where their allies are. And this is the mostly complete bipartisan bill that anybody has seen in Congress in the last 50 years. That the people on the extreme right want this thing passed, the people on the extreme left want this thing passed, all the people in the middle want this thing passed. It's just that they've got these people sitting on these two major committees of the chairing of the House Intelligence Committee and the House Armed Services Committee that are basically putting their thumbs on the scale. Okay, and so what we need to do is mobilize the rest of the country to demand that this be done. We need to have a basic positive citizens uprising here to assert our democratic rights, to have access to this information. That this information is going to be the basis of, if we can get the board put back into place, because they took out the board. They've taken out of the bill, in that 40 pages they removed from the 64-page bill, they took out the appointment of this board of review that is going to be authorizing the public release of this information. And they put back into the hands the heads of each of the military services and intelligence agencies to make their own decision about what they think ought to be made public. And we already know what they think ought to be made public, which is nothing, you know? And so this is basically a toothless bill right now, except for the command that they prepare the information. And so that they're actively under a constitutional obligation now to organize the information and to seek it out. And we just saw that actually Chris Mellon just issued a thing to the cell phone that I have over here, pointing out that they've gotten access to information that the people inside the intelligence communities and inside the national security state infrastructure that want this stuff disclosed are actively engaged in gathering all this information up right now, and getting it ready to turn over. So there's a great war going on inside all these agencies right now between the people who want to get this done and those who are trying to stop it. So this is an extraordinary adventure that's happening here.
I'm going to stop the screen share there. And it's an extraordinary venture. And I think that, that little clip gives you a real clear idea of exactly where we stand. And I see that Steve Bassett joined us, so we're going to bring him on in a moment. But I want to, again, remind people, let's support what Danny's doing, because what he's doing is really important. So please go to the newparadigminstitute.org, newparadigminstitute.org. Here it is. You click right there, take that action. That immediately is how you can send a letter to Congress asking for immediate UAP disclosure. And then, of course, to learn all about it. It's also good to sign up for the updates because Danny does a great job. Just yesterday, I got a wonderful update from him. He's right on it. He and the man we're about to meet in a moment, Steve Bassett. So it's important for us all to come together and really support Danny, support the New Paradigm Institute, and he's made it as easy as possible for us to demand disclosure. And I'm going to bring Alan back on. Alan, any thoughts you want to add to what we just saw?
What's so important about Danny Sheehan is that he is a lawyer in deep in this situation. He is the counsel for the whistleblowers, Luis Elizondo. I think he's working with Chris Mellon, and he knows that this is not just really about aliens. This is about a constitutional issue. There's forces inside the government that are keeping the truth, not only from the American people, but from government and Congress. And that is illegal. So he's going in that way and he's saying, what's going on? And he's calling it out. He's saying, this has to be confronted. The corruption inside the Pentagon, who's ever holding the secrets, and maybe Steve will tell us, it is a violation of human rights. The technology that we can gain that is being sold to private industry is something that will change civilization for the better, and we are being deprived of it. And Danny is on top of that, and it's great to have him on our team. Really is.
We are activists here. Alan, I'm going to have you kind of check in with Steve, make sure he's ready. And while you do that, we're going to meet my good friend Zasha, who is probably my favorite activist in the world, certainly one of them. She is an extraordinary woman who I've had the good pleasure to really get to know. She's originally from Pakistan, where she stood up to the government there and is lucky to be alive, to be honest. I'm going to add you to the Zoom room. There she is. There's Zasha. And she tackles difficult things, but she does it with so much love. And that is the Global Peace Tribe way, is to, even when we're dealing with the hard stuff, to do it with love. So welcome back to the Awakening World, Zasha. It's good to see you. And you are helping to support something very important. And so I want to turn the floor over to you to let our audience know about a very important event that's about to happen.
Thank you so much, Scott. You're such a beautiful being of love. It's such an honor to be a love warrior alongside you on this planet. So thank you for everything that you do for everyone. And what a poignant topic today, as we're talking about whistleblowers. We are, bringing that right of people to be able to disclose the truth. So the truth that is important to all of us is not a secret, and we are not deceived about it. And within that topic comes the topic of Julian Assange. That key turning point in history, his persecution, which essentially enslaved all of mainstream media. Government disclosures and exposés have become next to none ever since. So this is a really, really important cause for all of us to show up for. And we as Love Warriors United are showing up to manifest together his release. So there's on the 20th of May, there's the hearing happening. Many of you might already know about it, whether he will be extradited to the US to face 175 years in prison for what? For revealing truth. And frustrating the government's, the war machine's war agenda. And because of those exposés, several wars had to be delayed. And because of that, he has been persecuted by the biggest empire on the planet. And so we are gathering from a place of love to support that. I will just share a little transmission from my co-creator on this. We're trying to, which is a beautiful representation of the energy that we're bringing to this. I will just share that here.
Meditation, and some beautiful people as part of the program, including Kim Stanton, who has done the amazing The Trust for All documentary, which has showed to thousands and thousands of people.
Oops, sorry.
One sleep to go. We see Julian Assange free, and tomorrow we have our global manifestation, meditation, and some beautiful people as part of the program, including Kim Stanton, who has done the amazing The Trust for All documentary, which has showed to thousands and thousands of people. We really wanted to do this. I actually got inspired from watching the video. So coming to you from North Stradbroke Island, and this peaceful place on the planet, a beautiful sacred place of strong Indigenous culture, a place where we know what it is. I feel, especially with my Māori background, that the key is to use our focus, our courage, and our love to be able to see a bright future for everyone. And the first step for me is to free people like Julian, for him being a courageous young boy like I want my sons to be. Many of us want our children to have as a future, and that is what us as Indigenous people do. We always make sure that we set things up for our future generations, and we also listen to the wisdom of our ancestors so that we can create. We've had that sense of Indigenous culture being shunned in the past, most recently, but we've brought it back. Already, as you can see, in Aotearoa, New Zealand, the Māori have restored the culture and the language and the ways of the power, focus, love, and courage. So we just need to do more of that, and it's possible, and it is time. Truth has come up. So much awareness is here. So much deep, deep down in our hearts wants to do this, but there is fear. So I've had, it's about facing it and feeling it and going, why? So the more we stand together in a world where we've been encouraged to be separate, to compete, to actually, not be able to get along with people, the more we at least have things like this in common, create change. So I really love you too. It's great. 1 to 3 hours. We have a full program, so you can join us. It'll be 4 p.m. in Sydney time, Australia, 6 p.m. in New Zealand. If you click on the link that I'll provide, you'll be able to see all the other times it's available. Just want to share a little clip at the end to show you the beauty of nature and how to stay and for people to be in harmony, like the beautiful wallaby and kangaroo are here on this island.
There we go.
There we
Hope-
go.
Yeah.
So Zasha, what's the best way for people to participate? What's the website or the link that we want to take them to participate?
Yes. So this is the website that I'm just sharing here, and I will also share the event invitation and registration links. So this website, New Earth Dreaming, is just a bunch of friends. It's a nonprofit, no self-promotion here, just about the mission and what we're doing together as love warriors. We activate in non-dual spiritual activism. That's how we do it. We're not against anything. We're here to stand for what we want to create through our powers together, stepping in. So that is the mantra of the love warriors. And we are here to activate love warriors in all of us so we can start showing up. And the best way to show up, I will be sharing a Zoom registration link as well, and the Facebook event link. It will be here in a couple of minutes. Is to register, show up if the time zone works for you, show up. Otherwise, share it everywhere, please, as far as wide as possible, and watch the replay, because time doesn't really exist. So we're going to set the intention that whoever watches it, whenever in the future, that their manifestation energy joins us for our manifestation. So we all do it together whenever, wherever you watch it. Do join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sasha, for the beautiful work you do. I always enjoy having you on our show, and stick around because we've got some really amazing presenters. I love you very much. Thank you. And let's all definitely hold Julian in our hearts and hold the highest vision for him. What a courageous soul he truly is. I'm going to bring up my buddy Alan to see how we're doing. Is Steve Bassett ready to chat with us, Alan?
I hope so. Is he still in the room? He's a busy.
There he is. Yes, he is. All right. So, hey, Steve, can you hear us?
I can.
Great.
Steve, thank you
Alan,
for the getting on here tonight. We appreciate your work. 30 years on the Hill as the only UFO lobbyist. And he really works hard, and it keeps getting more and more exciting every year, Steve. You always say we're right at the edge of disclosure, but I think you might be right. So what's coming up, and what do you see the future of this whole movement as it's unfolding and has been unfolding? So go ahead. Go for it.
Look, funny hat here. First of all, I'm not the only lobbyist. I haven't been for some time. It's probably 6, 7, 8, or 9 now, which is great. It's fine. I was happy to get things going, but that's just one of the examples of how far things are coming.
Originally, you were the only lobbyist, right? And when it started
from 1996 to about, I don't know, 2014, 15, 16, somewhere in there, I was the only registered. Then some other people got involved. Now there's MUFON has a substantial full-blown lobbying firm that they're paying big money to represent them on the Hill, and that's very good. And MUFON is obviously benefiting from that. No, the truth embargo is surrounded on all sides. It's losing. I like to say the managers of the truth embargo have lost. They just don't know it yet. They're in total desperation mode. This lie is going to end soon. Now, it can go easy or it can go hard. Right now, they're trying to play hardball. So they was able to substantially change a major piece of legislation by threatening to take the funding away from certain members of Congress, which is how our system works now. It's what we do. That's what we have until we change that system. Men and women have got to raise $2, $3, $4, $5, $8 million to get a seat in Congress that costs $200,000, gives them $200,000 a year. So if you don't change that system, this is exactly what you're going to get. And so certain key people were told you're not going to get any more donations from the defense contractors unless that bill gets significantly changed, which it was. But then Schumer came out and said, no, we're not done. We're going to reintroduce it. That could be in the works. It was a huge embarrassment for the DOD. They got savaged on the internet, and they panicked because Schumer clearly was not going to stop. They figured that out, and they can't control Mark Warner, who can call the hearings in front of the Senate Intel Committee. There's dozens of witnesses like David Grush ready to testify. So we're kind of in the end game, but like a petulant child who's losing a game of checkers to his dad. Rather than just lose gracefully, stand up and shake hands, they grabbed the board and threw it up in the air, right? And by that, I mean they prevailed upon Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick before he finally left his job, which he had quit months earlier, to put his name, sadly, on a completely bogus report designed to somehow stop this by telling everybody that there's really nothing to this, and Arrow had done this and done that and found nothing. It's all a lie. The whole thing's a lie. It's a disgrace for the DOD. It's a disgrace for Lloyd Austin. And it's a huge disgrace for Sean Kirkpatrick, who I have no animosity towards at all. He's had a career. He served his country. But like so many people since 1947, his fate, and he did get a good job when he left. And I'm sure that if he had not told them, if he had not agreed to do what they asked him to do, that he might have lost that job. They're playing hardball. They're not fooling around. And so he's in an impossible position. I hope that Dr. Kirkpatrick finds the wherewithal to think this through and turn on them and do an about face and come forward and say, look, that report is bogus. I was pressured to sign it. It's wrong. There's a great deal of evidence for this issue. And in that instance, his legacy is redeemed. He will become very popular. And while he might lose a job the DOD had set up for him, he may get something even bigger elsewhere. But that's up to Dr. Kirkpatrick. But that's kind of where we are. Desperation, Hail Mary passes, making fools of themselves. This is not surprising.
The good side, like how close are we having more congressional hearings? What do you think of what Danny Sheehan's doing? We just saw about 15 minutes of Danny Sheehan. How is this all coming together for our side? Okay.
Well, everything is coming together for our side. Basically, we're winning. Danny Sheehan has finally, after many years, finally got the significant funding, launched the New Paradigm Institute. It's going gangbusters, and the more it does, the more money it'll raise. Could very well raise $10, $15 million or more. It will be the premier think tank in the post-disclosure world. Right now, it's doing what it can to help advance disclosure. But really, it's Danny that's doing that, because aside from being the chairman of the New Paradigm Institute, Danny is all over this issue in Washington, D.C. There's hardly anybody he hasn't talked to. He's getting meetings, inside meetings, and so forth. So he has direct access to the process, a lot of which he cannot talk about. But I know enough to know that if you knew what Danny knew, and even what I knew, you would realize we're winning, and we're almost there. Now, a nuclear war will definitely delay this. A revolution, a full-blown guns-blazing revolution in the country that has 500 million guns in civilian hands, that would delay this. And if, there are other things that could do it, and that's unfortunate, but that's the nature of reality. But what's in our favor is that while all these major things can influence this, the path to disclosure basically is simple. It goes through one person, and that is Senator Mark Warner. Senator Mark Warner knows there's dozens of witnesses ready to testify. He knows how powerful their testimony will be. We're talking 10, 12, 15 David Grushes and more. He knows that if those hearings are announced to the world, that the major networks will immediately give free foreign feed to almost every other country in the world. The audience for those hearings could be in the tens, hundreds of millions of people, because it's kind of a popular issue. And in other words, we're talking the David Grush hearing in the House times 300 or something in terms of its potency. And so that hearing will be watched by many millions of people. The testimony will blow the truth embargo out of the water, period. I hate to use these war metaphors. It will certainly decimate it. And in which case, the stage is set for Biden in a non-political way to come forward and say, look, I watched, you watch. What can I say? Clearly, we're not alone. And I'm going to help get more information out and support the truth process. Thank you very much. I'll see you all in the press room on Monday. That's how close we are. It's one man. It sits right now on the shoulders of one man. And when you get that close, and he's a good man, he served his country for decades. He is chairman of the Senate Intel Committee for good reason. It's the premier committee. The people that are appointed to it are top, but he has a tough decision to make. And the biggest problem that he faces is not necessarily Ukraine. It's not necessarily the Middle East, or God knows 18 other genocides going on, but the fact that he is a Democrat. There is a presidential election underway for that, and election for the House and Senate. It is definitely up for grabs, could go either way. And he is sitting there wondering, I would think, if I hold this hearing that leads to President Biden confirming the ET president, who happens to be president now, will it cost him the election? Will it not cost him the election? Will it be neutral? Will I be the person, by taking this act, the one that decides who wins the House and Senate and the presidency next year? Will it go against us? This is a brutally difficult political decision. Now, the House doesn't have that kind of problem. And so the UAP caucus, that I say UAP caucus, we have one now. It's the first one in the history of the issue. So that's another way we're winning. They may hold another hearing in the House, and they may do it soon. That's good. I'm glad. But that is not the hearing that can set the stage for disclosure, but it helps. But right now, the hearing we must have is the Senate Intelligence Committee. So that's where we are. We're this close to getting this done. Finally, 77 years, almost 77 years to the day that a vehicle crashed at Roswell, and they put out a press release about it.
So, Steve, if we get disclosure, I know this is the day you've been waiting for, but post-disclosure, how does the world look? What changes for not only the American people, but the people of the world? I know you're thinking about this stuff.
AD After Disclosure by Zabel and Dolan gave an effort to try to describe it, and it's good, pretty good. 10,000 books will be written about it eventually before the century is over, maybe 100,000 books. That's how big a deal it's going to be. The day after disclosure, people will be excited. The press will be on fire. Every press briefing room will be filled. And a process of information that's probably going to be dominated by the truth will begin. The UAP Disclosure Act, if it hasn't been passed, will get passed very quickly. Arrow will finally get some funding. And everybody will be on pins and needles waiting for what's going to happen next. Well, what's going to happen next, the day after disclosure, is a whole bunch of heads of state are going to be putting together the press conference that they're going to give. And over the next days that follow, one nation after another, the head of state is going to come forward and say, I did some checking, and President Biden is absolutely right. We're not alone. And we have some information too. I'm going to try to get that to you. Thank you so much. And that's going to go on for some time. There's 200 countries out there and a lot of major powers. And every one of them is going to confirm the ET presence. There's not going to be any holdouts, meaning, we're Spain and we're just not accepting this. There can't be ETs here. Thank you very much. Don't bother us. No, this is the biggest event in human history. Every head of state is going to be on it. So that will happen. Corporations that haven't thought about this in advance, I'm available for consulting, will suddenly hold meetings, get people together, say, whoa, how can we make money from this? How can we get rich from this? What can we do? What can we do? Set up a division, point this, whatever. All right, that'll be happening. Everybody in the field will rejoice, but everybody in this field who have worked so hard for so little, for so long, guess what? unless you want to retire on a high note, the real work begins the day after disclosure. That's when everyone that understands this issue, understands its history, will start to help others decide what the post-disclosure is going to be like, and if it's going to be a true paradigm shift, or we're just going to return to the same old behavior. There's ETs here, but that's not going to let us stopping from having a couple more world wars, because that's what we do. We hold world wars, we kill hundreds of millions of people. We can't change, or maybe we can. And so
Well,
that is going to be one of the things you'll see happening as the activists of the world suddenly go, this is our time, and they really get going, maybe with the help of some of that fine billionaire money that might get spent on fixing the world, as opposed to electing the next jackass to some office of some country. These kinds of things will be under play, along with 100,000 other things. And I just hope I live long enough to enjoy it.
well, I think it's just not about aliens or spacecraft. It's the fact that truth that's been denied, like you say, the truth embargo, has finally been acknowledged. Finally, we're getting some real, genuine understanding from the government, sort of what Zasha was referring to. It's time for freedom for people to not be oppressed by those in power, to keep us from our true knowledge, the true resources, our true self. And that's what I think a big part of this disclosure movement does.
Indirectly, disclosure doesn't do that. Disclosure is going to be a massively well-received truth event that's going to trigger a lot of, in the minds of a lot of people who've been lying since the day they were born, that, you know, maybe the truth's the way to go, because it seems to be quite popular now. And we may start moving away from essentially systemic lies across the board, institutional wise, that is just ruining the country, ruining our democracy. And of course, it's going on in the autocracies as well, where they lie as a matter of state principle and kill you if you don't believe them. But we could shift to a time when people are going, it's in my benefit, it's in the country's benefit, it's in my corporation's benefit. Tell the truth, right? Let's try that, see if it works. But ultimately, in its simplest form, is this. Most of the 20th century, a lot of things have happened, very stressful, right? And it's like, you know, driving that beautiful car that's brand new, driving it for years all over the place, all through the country, out in the woods. It starts to get bumped up, paint scratches, it's got problems, the gears don't work, whatever. And if you don't fix it, eventually it just stops in the middle of nowhere and you're done. The US has been that way. We have gone through all these stresses during the 20th century, and we've hardly fixed a damn thing. We're still conducting ourselves in 2024 the way we conducted ourselves in 1911. The genocides, the wars, the disrespect for the environment, the disrespect for just human rights, 4 billion people virtually living without the basics, getting madder and madder by the day. We haven't fixed much in my lifetime. So what has to happen post-disclosure is the great age of fixing things, where you actually go, we need to fix that, and you go and do it, as opposed to, well, you're not going to fix that because that'll make you good, and I'm going to be good, and so I'm going to stop you, and you're not going to fix that, you're not going to do this, it's going to be like this. That may come to an end, because if it continues, I assure you, we're not going to be around much longer. We are so close to nuclear war, you can just feel the radiation. And I'm not blowing smoke. That's the experts telling us. Right? Across the board, academics, politicians, scientists, we're this close to nuclear war. We're dancing on the volcano like a bunch of mad people. One nuke, and that begins it, and then it's done. So that's something we need to fix. Can we fix the nuclear war problem before disclosure? Not a chance in hell. Not a single chance in hell, period. We will simply move on and have that war. After disclosure, I can see how that could get fixed. It's the only shot we have.
Well, do you think it's possible the fact that we're not alone in the universe, countries, these political leaders might wake up and say, what are we killing each other for? There's a bigger picture going on here. I mean, there's something more than just our petty little tribal wars.
Well, that's a worldview aspect. It's a worldview approach. That's one way of looking at it. Danny, of course, understands that. He's into worldview, paradigm shift, and all that. And New Paradigm Institute is going to be trying to train the whole world in a new worldview. And again, I'm totally on board with that. And I'm just so pleased to see it happening, and so pleased for Danny, who spent his whole life trying to seek social justice in a world that just really isn't interested much in social justice. So yeah, let's put it simple. You know, it's like we're not alone. ETs are here. We have tech. They're still in our skies, right? We'll probably get confirmed pretty shortly thereafter. They're from other star systems, right? And so I'm running China, right? And I'm going, you know, that island, that damn island that sits off the coast, which is like one tiny 1/10% of China. We want that. We have to have that. It's in our honor. We must have that island. We will have to invade. We'll risk nuclear war to have that island at a time when, wait a minute, there's an entire galaxy out there that we might be able to engage soon. We have ETs that have been engaging us. We need to know about that. Who gives a blessed damn about that stupid island? And I can give you a whole bunch of things like that that we will die for, when in fact, from a proper perspective, it's not worth even bothering with. All right. And we are drenched in this kind of stuff. I mean, you know, Vladimir Putin wants to rebuild the old great Russian Empire and be a czar. Who gives a damn? Do you think the galaxy cares? Do you think the world is going to care that much about the future of the great new Russia after we've learned that we are part of a civilization, a group of civilizations go back, who knows, millions of years? Not so much. It may be a little harder to get people to go die for him, but I'm not just picking on him. There's a lot of people out there, what I call basically, you know, megalomaniac idiots, who are just asking people to go die for them. It's like, get out and die for me, please, please, please. I'm a powerful person. I have a point of view.
I'm curious if Sasha and maybe Scott have something to say about, you know, all this talk about, you know, freedom coming forward, truth. I mean, Scott, Sasha, can we bring Sasha? I'm just curious what she has to say about what Steve is.
Sasha, I think. Oh, she's still here. Great.
I'm still here.
Hey, Sasha, what do you have to say about that?
Yes. Sorry, could you please repeat the exact question for me again?
About that, Sasha, because Sasha is a freedom fighter in her own way, Steve. She's been fighting a political battle from the country she came from. She's fighting for her freedom, personal freedom. So, Sasha, we're talking about a big global freedom here. What do you think about what Steve was saying?
If she heard it, maybe she might not have heard it.
I heard a bit and I missed a bit, but what I can share right here is freedom and truth are the primary things that we need access to in order to be sovereign beings. We don't know what the truth is. We don't know what to stand for. We don't know what to do. And this is our sovereign right to access these. And oftentimes there are many who use these concepts as deception, as manipulation, where they claim to be providing this, but actually are taking this away from us. It is that pandering, paternalistic, I'm doing this for your own good kind of thing. And we in Pakistan actually protested outside the US embassy once because the US gave a statement that we should not be removing our military dictator and we should not get democracy and a free court and a free press. And so we were protesting outside the US embassy saying, we deserve freedom too. We deserve democracy too. They're not just for you. And so therefore all of us, and I know that the US citizens, so many of them also don't have access to these. Currently, it's only the elites who get these. And so we want this available to all of us. And that's where whistleblowers, that's where disclosures, all of these things become so important. So we know the reality we are in, so we know how to act and how to move.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. That's really beautiful. That's why we love Sasha. Stephen, two things for you. One is if you could put into the chat box how we can best support you or what website you'd like us to show. I didn't get a chance to have that information. I kind of right now just looked up online and popped in something. But and then I also have a question for you. As you talk about the threat of nuclear war, which I think we all sadly recognize is dangerously close. When Danny was at, when I hosted him 2 weeks ago, he told a story about when several of the NORAD missile sites was shut down completely with UFOs overhead.
Mhm.
What's your thought about the possibility, hopefully, that we will not be allowed to launch nuclear weapons because it goes against kind of the galactic decree, if you will, or the galactic prime directive? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Prime Directive was part of a fictional television show.
Well, of course it is, yes. But I'm using that as an analogy.
I understand. But no, I'm not trying to make funny. I'm trying to make a point. Yes, they turn our missiles off, and we turn them back on, and they don't turn them off again. I think they turn them off at several locations, but they don't go back to the one that we turned them back on. Now they turn them off. They did it in the Soviet Union. They've fiddled with some of our test. I swear we send up dummy nuke warheads to test them, and they will come in and knock it off. It's a message, clearly. It's clearly a message. But what is the message? And here is where I have a problem. First of all, in Hold'em poker, you go all in. If you win, you double your money, and that's nice. If you lose, you're done. You're bankrupt, you're broke, they throw you out of the casino. Okay. Are we willing to bet our entire civilization on the ETs, for whatever reason, will just stop those nukes when they fly? I don't want to make that bet, but it's worse than that. Because to the extent that that idea is even out there, is that helping people to really put effort and sweat, and blood, and time and money into trying to get nuclear non-proliferation treaties? No, it just says, hey, yeah, we don't need that. They'll take care of it. And by the way, we're not doing virtually anything about non-proliferation now. We're going nowhere. We're just making even more powerful weapons. So again, we're headed to hell in a handbasket. And so this idea that, oh, the ETs will save us is a really bad idea. Okay, really, really bad. It would be nice, but don't count on it. Because, you know, they didn't intervene in World War I. They didn't intervene in World War II. They didn't intervene in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. But they keep letting us know. The universe has been around a long time. Some of these civilizations have been around a long time. I think some of them blew themselves up like we may, and they're not here anymore, but the universe doesn't care. The ones that are still here kind of know how and what it takes to evolve, but it's a big galaxy. If we blow ourselves to kingdom come, turn the oceans to acid and the sky into nothing but soot, the galaxy will barely notice. Okay. And so we're responsible for this planet. And as I've said many times, if you want to look for a motivation, why they care at all, why they turn off our nukes, it may not be about saving us per se, but rather our physics is approaching the understanding of space and time to the point where we can work around relativity and go star to star without time dilation. And in not hundreds of thousands of years, but weeks like they do. And guess what? I don't think they're thrilled about the most violent planet in the near surround, where you've got countries like the US with 500 million guns in the hands of just the civilians, right, who've already dropped nuclear weapons on their own women and children, building starships and bringing those nukes their way. And so if there is a rationale here, it isn't saving us. It's protecting them appropriately from us. Now, if we disclose and we have open contact and there's an understanding, so we get rid of those nukes, and I'm sure there will be people that want to hold on to those nukes to the very end. We have to have them. We can't live without them. Who are we without them? But we may just get rid of them, in which case suddenly the galaxy becomes available to us. That's the only rationale I'm willing to buy into. All the rest don't make a damn bit of sense to me. And so we're close to star travel. We're close to nuclear war. We've got many other crises that we're dealing with: population, environment, you name it, AI, right? In other words, it's all coming together in one giant cluster, if you know what I mean, okay? And that's interesting that the ETs are sort of, involved in a sense. And it may not be a strict coincidence, because a lot of the things that are happening would logically happen together. The development of nuclear technology at the same time we're developing other physics and astrophysics, the increased population that comes with more technology that puts pressure on the planet. All of these things that have happened since 1900 would logically come together, leading to a major crisis point. And what can I say? In the middle of the 20th century, after we dropped the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, saucers started turning up all over the place. So many they were crashing, right? And so it's not totally random. There is a story here to be told. The government doesn't want to tell it. The government wants to lie to you until the day you die. But the government is losing this battle. And once we get disclosure, the power and the pressure that will come on our institutions, government and corporate, God bless those corporations, to stop institutionally lying and start institutionally truth-telling will be great. We do outnumber them. You know, for every 100 billionaire, there's like tens of millions of people that don't have so much money, but they outnumber them 10 million to 1. And so this is the kind of way I view this transition. There's no certainty, but I'll say this, it's the only shot we have. That's it. I mean, if you say, oh no, we don't need disclosure, there's going to be some meetings pretty soon and they're going to settle some of these issues and we're going to resolve this and resolve that. We're going to cut the military spending. No, we're not. Disclosure, ending this embargo and introducing ourselves to the galaxy is the only thing we have to save our ass, period.
You know, Scott, I think we should get John Martin in on this conversation because John has a slightly different perspective because he is making contact. He is out there and he's leading the People's Brigade in this movement that, you know, there's the government side and then there's the people side. So why don't we introduce...
So yeah, I've brought John on and I agree. We're going to go to John in a moment. But I do want to just address what you just said, Steve. I'm glad I asked the question. And I'm not suggesting that we wait for Deus Ex Machina to come down. And I really appreciate your passion. I think your passion is right on. And of course, we can't count on the gods from the skies to save our ass. We have to do the work ourselves. And I also hope that our relationship with recognizing that there's, of course, many galactic beings, many different species, many different things going on out there. But I also do hope that there is a higher perspective, if you will, and that somehow we can raise our consciousness fast enough to catch up with our technology. That's why I do a show called The Awakening World.
This is one of the great questions. The consciousness movement, I'm not unaware of it, I'm not unappreciative of it, but it is a slow movement. You can go back 4,000 years where some fine individuals and on many continents were talking about these same things and talking about ways to look at the world and to look inside and so forth, many of these same principles 5,000 years ago. And well, it hasn't prevented what has happened. Consciousness is a luxury to some degree, or growing it and expanding it. Self-help is a luxury that you tend to have if you have food, clothing, water, shelter, and you don't live under the threat of annihilation every second of the day.
Right.
And so at some point, you got to take care of business. All right. You've got to make the world a place where people can pursue these higher values and not hope that by pursuing these higher values in some way for some interminable length of time, the rest of the things will be solved. We need to create a world where you can be free, not just say we're free. We need to create a world where you can love and not just say, well, love, right? You have to have the ability to do it. You have to have the place to do it. I mean, you can love anywhere and anyhow, but if you're in a trench in Ukraine and with drones overhead and your soldiers and friends dying literally beside you and your cities behind you destroyed, it's a little harder to experience that love. I'm not saying it's not possible. Some of the great avatars of our time can do it, but we're just human beings. We're making it so hard on ourselves to be good, to tell the truth, to care, to love. We're making it really, really hard. And interestingly enough, by and large, the people that are doing that represent a tiny, tiny percentage of the people of the world. The vast number of the people of this world want to have a life, they want to love, they want to have a family, and they want peace. They are constantly being herded around by a limited number of megalomaniacal lunatics who find a way to get into power
and once there, raise all the holy hell they can. And this disparity, this incredible asymmetry, has been plaguing us since the beginning. And that's one of the things we need to fix post-disclosure. In the post-disclosure world, crazy, lunatic, megalomaniacs should not be allowed to get anywhere near an official office of any kind. They can go out in the woods, do whatever the hell they want, right? But if they break the law, they go to jail. But the idea that they rule, no, that has to stop. That has to be one of the things that has to be fixed post-disclosure.
Stephen, I really respect you, and I so appreciate you being here. And again, thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your years and years of activism. I hope you can stick around because we're going to continue this discussion tonight.
Sure.
I do want to hear from John Martin, who has a different perspective. And Alan, you look like you want to say something.
I also think Steve should hear the Elizabeth April message that we're going to play at the end of the show and see what he thinks of that. I'm curious about that. It's a little out there for Steve, but I think he can integrate it. So,
yeah, it may not be out there for me. You don't know how out there I can get. I can get out there. I can get out there like anybody else. I'm out there.
Well, we'll see what you have to. Are you a friend of? You must know Elizabeth April, so we're going to hear
I
from
have crossed paths with her, yes. I haven't got to know her well, but I've crossed paths with her.
well, John is the guy you want to talk to, Steve, because he's already daily singing to these ships and bringing them in. So, John, or why don't you introduce John there, Scott?
John is one of our most beloved members of the Awakening World. He's been on, I don't know, probably a dozen times now. And John has just this beautiful consciousness, and he goes out and he plays guitar and he sings and films the ships. And, you know, no matter what you believe, if we just listen and feel John's vibration and feel his love, no matter what your belief system is, you can't miss that this is somebody who's a lover of life, a lover of beings, and no wonder that he has the kind of contact on a regular basis that he does. So, John, I hope that we're not embarrassing you. You're on camera. We're seeing you there. And welcome back to the Awakening World.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. And Steve, I'm in agreement with all that you said. I mean, we are dealing.
Make your sound a little louder, John.
You're really quiet.
We're living in late stage malignant capitalism, and we have been dealing with some incredibly difficult issues here. And you know, I recognize that, and it's a challenge for all of us. But I feel like we individually can take sovereignty over ourselves. And when you said introduce yourselves to the universe, that's what I've done. I've made a point to go outside. I share what's important to me, and excuse me. And so I take my music and I went outside and I began playing and I began projecting positive thought and love.
Make your sound a little louder, John. Just a little volume increase, because
I'm sorry. Actually, I'm at the beach, so I don't have my regular setup. Can you hear me now?
It's slow, so yeah, speak closely. Are you on a computer? Because we can show you how to adjust your audio settings.
Okay, how do you do that?
So in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see where it says stop video, your little video camera. And to the left of it is your mute button. And in between is an arrow. Click that arrow.
Yeah.
And that opens up and you'll see where it says audio settings. Click your audio settings.
Oh, okay.
And then where you'll see about halfway down is your microphone level. And
is that better, Scott?
That's what we wanted. Thank you. That's better.
I'm sorry about that.
All right.
But anyway, for the last 10 years, Steve, I've been making a point to, it's a daily practice. I go outside, I interact with our star family. They've come in so many different ways, huge craft. I had a cross and a crescent shaped metallic craft, the size of office buildings that came over my home. I had when I first started playing guitar, a beautiful purple plasma craft with a pink ring came directly over my home. I've had beautiful entities that have come through portals. And I'm going to show a video if I can, Scott, in a few minutes. And I've got a few pictures of that entity himself. And it's available to all of us. And I really feel like we can change this world into a more beautiful and positive place, even with all the challenges that you very clearly defined. And I think it's up to each of us to make that effort. And when we do that, there will be a paradigm shift, and there will be an ascension process that can absolutely make this a beautiful, earth that we've all envisioned and that we're all working towards. And that's been my mission now for the last decade.
Yeah. We would love to see your most updated photos and videos, John.
Okay. Optimize for video clip. There we go.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. Thank you, friends. Wonderful. Thank you, my friends. That's just great. Thank you, lovely friends. Wow. Thank you, beautiful ones. Well, yeah, you keep those y'all in there. Thank you, beautiful friends. Thank you. That was awesome. Wow. That was really awesome. Thank you. Thank you, my friends. Just randomly. It's never random, is it, two friends? Wow. That's one of the greatest thing you've ever seen. Wow, friends. Spectacular. It's never random, is it, two friends? Wow. That's one of the greatest thing you've ever seen. Wow, friends. Hey, sweet friends. Hey, lovely ones. Right by there. Hey, gorgeous ones. Hey, my beautiful friends. Thank you. Hey. Oh, I was hoping you'd come by tonight. Thank you, my friends. How beautiful is that? Thank you, beautiful ones. Thank you, my lovely friends. That was lovely. Thank you so much. Hey, beautiful ones. Hey, my gorgeous friends. Thank you for coming to see me. Hey, beautiful ones. That was was asking what your name was. Thank you, sweet friends. Love you. Thank you, friends. Wow. Wow. Oh, my friends. Oh, there's two. Oh, how gorgeous. Wow. Gorgeous. So awesome, friends. Beautifully done. Wow. That was great. Thank you, sweet friends. Thank you, my friends. How absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Hey, dear friends. Hey, gorgeous ones. You're so wonderful. Thank you, sweet friends. Thank you, beautiful ones. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, lovelies. So important to me. Thank you. Thank you, gorgeous ones. Thank you, my dear friends. So beautiful. Have a lovely night. Thank you. There you go. Right through. Hey, friend. Thank you. Thank you, gorgeous one. Thank you, beautiful one. Hey, hey. Yes, indeed. Thank you, my lovely one. That was fantastic. Thank you. Gorgeous. Thank you, my beautiful one. Thank you for that. Hey, beautiful one. Oh, my goodness. Hey, loveliest. Oh, you are gorgeous. Hey, beautiful one. Hey, my sweet friends. Oh, how lovely. Thank you. Thanks for coming to see me, dear friends. Look, oh, you're so wonderful. Thank you, beautiful one. Oh, my gracious. Hey there. So wonderful to see you tonight. Thank you, beautiful one. Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you. Hey there.
John, and people are asking how they can get more of you. So they can find you, of course, on YouTube. They can find you on TikTok. And you've wrote this beautiful, beautiful book, which I'm blessed to have a copy of and to actually be mentioned in. Thank you. I'm just going to read some of the things that people are saying. Tammy Moore writes, his book is very interesting. I find it highly recommended. Richard posted your YouTube link in our chat box. Thank you very much, Richard, for doing that. And he says, very cool. What an awesome way of having contact. Dorina Joy has been sending us some images. And I'm going to take a quick look at one. This is really beautiful. This is a shot of a UFO taken during the Aurora Borealis.
Wow.
So that's a pretty amazing photo. And I'm not sure if that's somebody created that using it, but Dorina Joy sent it to us just now. And if nothing else, it's a beautiful image. I'm going to bring our friend Steve Bassett and our beloved Alan Steinfeld back up to get some of their comments about.
Well,
I could say one thing. I think it's this discernment. When you recognize that there are higher beings that you can have access to, then that informs your next step in contact. And that's what, it's just a progression of interactions. And when you do it on a daily basis, it's not alarming in any way. And it's a beautiful experience. And I highly recommend it. That's, I guess, what I would say.
yeah. If you want John to take you out, just pull in some craft. Would that, what'd you think about that, Steve? Some of those incredible ships arriving.
What I think is that, well, first of all, it's much less engaged by the media, I can assure you. But for many years now, there has been a growing CE5 movement where people are going out to make deliberate intentional contact. There's not the funding to really measure this, but the amount of people that are doing this might be shocking. It's a very large number. Okay. And by and large, there's not a lot of negative feedback coming from that, meaning in those CE5 groups are not coming back with horror stories or anything like that. That's good. The truth embargo has prevented the world in general, the larger world, from really knowing much about the contactees. There have been books, they turn up in some docs, there's been some fictionalizations, but overall, the amount of contact that's taken place is huge compared to the amount of, how would you say, explanatory material and awareness that's out there. But for those that have some sense of it, overall, it's hard to, if you get into details, it gets complicated. So let's just say overall, I am completely convinced we have far more to worry about from ourselves, from human beings, than we do from ETs. And then if we fully understand the whys and the wherefores of why they're here, I think we might be shockingly pleased. But clearly, the amount of what we'll call really unpleasant, scary stuff that's happened is just minuscule compared to what a few humans can do in a bad weekend. So I feel positive about that. I don't get involved in CE5 work or what have you. There's plenty of people doing that. They don't need me doing that. I have to stay within a certain zone in order to do what I do. And I'm not oblivious to this. And of course, I have a strong personal, how would you say, appreciation for contactees in general. I first entered this field by spending time at John Mack's organization in Cambridge, meeting contactees for the first time. They are the interface between the human race and the ETs, basically. They are. I don't know how much government interface has taken place, probably a hell of a lot less than people would think. But from the standpoint of human to ET interface, my God, it is huge. I think the number of contactees is in the millions, if you count everyone, including those that have no memories. So this massive interaction has been going on, and we know very little about it because the truth embargo was so wonderfully funded and conducted by the United States and its allies. So I'm optimistic post-disclosure.
when the contactees come forward in droves, when their stories are wanted and needed and even begged for, when they're going to have their day and everybody wants to meet one, we're going to start to get a picture that's going to say, we're pretty damn lucky. The groups that are engaging us not only seem to be pretty reasonable, there's evidence they have genetic connections to us already. I mean, they're kind of like coming home in a way. And it's very possible that the collective power that they represent as a group may be the one thing that's keeping us safe from the Borg, from the bad guys, if there's any out there at all, because we can't do that. And so the only way you can be protected under an anthropomorphic perspective is you need a group of friends powerful enough to keep the bullies away. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but if it's true, thank goodness. All right. So I have a very positive view on this. I'm not a spiritual person. I operate in a fairly straightforward zone, but I always respect that view. I always respect those teaching. I love to go to New Age conferences because everybody seems so happy and not wanting to do anything nasty and get along. And that's a nice thing, right? Because you don't get that in a lot of places. But there is ultimately what's required is not just a worldview change, but worldview change accompanied by fixing things. We have got to fix a lot of stuff, and all of this could work pretty well.
Well, it takes everyone working in their own field. Like I do think what John's doing a lot of C5, it makes it a people's movement. What the Global Peace Tribe is about, it's about people coming together, standing up for the truth and standing up for their own experiences. And then there's the government side, right? So it takes all sides to change a paradigm. Don't you think, Scott?
Absolutely. And, one of the things that I like, I think it's a really fun contrast having both John and Stephen on, because they're approaching this incredible experience from very different ways. Stephen, as an activist, doing the really hard work, the lobbying and dealing with Congress and dealing with politics. And that's, my hat's off to our activists. It's hard work to be an activist. And John representing the raising of a
consciousness. Yes.
And it's the great question. Do we go out into the external world and change the world that way? Or there are those who believe, no, you have to change your consciousness and we change the world that way. And I think both are true. Pray to Allah and tie your camel. So I think it's fun having both of these two different approaches and very real experiences of the UFO UAP ET phenomenon on the show. And I'm just really appreciating and respecting both of you very, very much.
I would like to say that, each of us are so unique on this planet at this time. And, I know our star family recognize how unique each of us are, and we all have our own contribution to make. I couldn't. There's no way I could do what you do, Scott or Alan or Steve, but I can do what I can do. And I try to do it as well as I can. And I think when we all do that, then, the universe recognizes and honors, that commitment that we make to try to make a more beautiful world. And I really think we can do that. There's a lot of challenges, a lot of scary things out there. Believe me, I've dealt with many of those things myself. But the beauty of each of us, our higher selves, are honored and recognized throughout the universe. And it's not a localized thing. There's a quantum element to each of us. What we do here resonates on the other side of the universe, all points in between and through all the dimensions. And we should recognize that in ourselves and honor that, and not feel like we have to go through someone else to make contact. We have the sovereign right to do that ourselves personally. And that's what I'm trying to share here and through my book and through my work. My YouTube channel is John Martin UFO and ET Intelligences. And you can kind of catch up with me there. And if you want to ask questions or anything, I'm always open to speaking with people through that as well.
Beautiful.
Thank
Thank
you for your approach and your love, and you're obviously doing something right because they're showing up massively in your direction. And I think having Steve here and John, it shows you how complex a situation we really are dealing with. And it has to be, I wouldn't say attacked, but confronted from many, many angles. The government, the people, the phenomena, the researchers, all the people that are going to be at Contact in the Desert. They've put 50 years of research into this. Richard Dolan, Linda Moulton Howe, George Knapp. These are the people that are supplementing our awakening to the fact that there's more to us and more to reality, and that's really what it's about. There's more to learn from the universe that we've been stopped from doing by whatever forces, and suddenly now we're find yourself in a whole new position, like Steve said, with AI, with cryptocurrency, and say that. But everything is changing our world, and this is the big enchilada.
Alan, I want to say that you are such a big piece of this. I learned so much from you. You have such a deep knowledge and passion for this work, and I so honor what you do. And I'm not sure I've said that to you personally, but I feel that very deeply.
Thanks so much, John. That's really, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's why we love Alan, and that's why Making Contact is an ongoing series on the awakening world. We have one more important voice to hear from, in addition to all of our wonderful chat members, and there's a lot of good stuff going on in the chat, and that's Elizabeth April. And Alan and I had planned to do this show several weeks, a while back, but as fate would have it, Elizabeth April, who's one of our favorite presenters, she's been on the show many times, sent out a video called An Urgent Message from our Galactic family, our Galactic Federation. And so I'm going to play that video. It's 18 minutes long. And I think it's really just a perfect add-on to tonight's show. And I look forward to hearing people's interpretations and responses. So with no further ado, here is our friend Elizabeth April.
Hello again, team. So right now it's Sunday, May 12th. I am pre-recording this video for Monday, May 13th. I will be traveling between Monday and Tuesday, so I will just not be able to deliver this message live. I really wish I was able to, because it's just so important. Now, today what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a transcript. This is a conversation I had just a couple of days ago with a being named Kinetic, who is a Pleiadian being with the Galactic Federation Security Council. Kinetic contacted me, which is typically very rare. I don't talk to them too often other than the monthly Galactic Federation summits, and he said that he had a very urgent message for humanity at this time. Just an FYI, before we get into the information, I'm going to try and read it slow because it is so packed with, I would say, downloads, activations. It's like every word they use is so specific and just so loaded, I feel. So I will try and read it slow, but this is a video you may want to re-listen to again. And I'm so sorry, but these solar flares are really hitting me, so my throat chakra is pretty shot. You probably hear it in my voice. But despite that, I really just need to get this message across. Okay, so let's begin. And if you see me reading or looking down, it's because I'm looking at this page. Kinetic. Greetings, Galactic Volunteers. I have come today to bring you important updates about your planetary evolution. There's a lot of movement happening beyond your veil, which is prompting this message to you at this time. Recently, forces outside of our galaxy have converged into our solar system. These forces are both friendly and not friendly. They have come to witness the unfolding happening on your planet. We have been in ongoing meetings and discussions with these visitors. They understand that this is the time of your evolution as well as your choice. In the coming months and years, more of these visitors will be appearing in our solar system. Naturally, their curiosity to visit Earth will create more contact. Our council continues to tell them that the prophecy cannot be pushed and that humanity is not yet ready to make a choice. Me. Wow, okay, let me unpack this a bit so we can fully understand everything you are mentioning. So let's start off with exactly who is visiting. Where are they coming from and what are their intentions? Kinetic. There are many species coming in from vast distances across the universe, and they have varied intentions. There are groups who are extensions of the Galactic Federation and are here to support our earthly aid. There are also groups arriving that do not have the best intentions for humanity, who are wanting to support the malevolent forces. Me. Why are they coming now? It feels like we are a long way from ascending. Kinetic. From our perspective, you are currently ascending and the time is now. We have been waiting for this moment since the beginning of Earth's creation and the prophecy realization. Me. Is there a potential for a galactic war outside of Earth? Are the malevolent forces aggressive? Are you concerned with them being so close to us? Kinetic. Yes, we do have deep concerns as they are unfamiliar with this territory and the regulations in place with the beings who have been interacting with Earth. They have little regard for universal law. We are closely monitoring the situation as this is an important time to let humanity choose without influence. Me. Can the other benevolent beings who have arrived help with mitigating their influence or at least keeping them separated from humanity? Kinetic. Yes. Luckily, as it stands, our forces outweigh theirs. However, the numbers have not stopped them in the past. Our biggest concern is that they will either act before you have fully ascended, or after the ascension, they will feel threatened and act then. Me. You talk about us making a choice. What do you mean by that? Kinetic. Within the prophecy, it states that the species which will end the war of all wars has to undergo certain experiences in order to understand the fluctuations of the universe. Once the civilization understands both sides, they must choose which one they will stand for, either unification or separation. The malevolent beings fear that you will choose unity and join the Galactic Federation, which is why they feel the need to stop you before it happens. Me. Can you remind us why everyone seems to care so much about us and our ultimate choice? How does that choice impact them? Aren't there many civilizations just like ours moving into different vibrations and evolving? Kinetic. Certainly, Elizabeth. Your species is special due to the genetic makeup of your DNA structure. As you know by now, you are a hybrid being mixed with many different species, which has helped you evolve exponentially faster. The prophecy stated that a species with a mix of DNA would go on to make a choice and join forces with unity, and when they do, the galactic wars in the universe would cease and a great time of peace would ensue. Me. Can you expand on why peace would happen if we chose unity? Kinetic. You may not see it right now, but your species is highly advanced. Once you fully embody and activate all of your genetic abilities, you end up becoming some of the greatest masters and leaders in this universe, ones that cannot be stopped through technology or force. Me. If we are that powerful, then what happens if we chose the lower vibrational DNA? What happens if we chose separation rather than unity? Kinetic. Of course, all possibilities exist, and we have seen this as well. Great destruction and potentially complete annihilation would take place if your civilization chooses separation. Your power will be used against us, and there will be no stopping you. Me. What happens if we evolve and some of us choose the light and some of us choose darkness? Kinetic. A divide is inevitable, but it's the decision of the majority that we are most concerned with. Me. So how will all of these new beings in our solar system impact humans at this time? What was the main message you intended to give us? Kinetic. It is inevitable that more craft sightings will happen with the influx of visitors, and more abductions will also take place. Your governments will need to act both privately and publicly in regard to these matters. I felt the need to connect with the Earthbound Galactic volunteers to give them a warning. You will feel the pressure for ascension building. You will feel the frequency around you changing. The likely possibility for a big solar event is mounting. Some of the newly arriving galactic councils are suggesting that the big solar event will be the fastest way to evolve. However, they are unaware of how fragile your species is. We have deep concerns for your safety and future. Our Federation believes in a more gradual shift, which will allow for the ascension while mitigating the overall damage. Many of you will feel weak, exhausted, and other symptoms of unwell. Do not fear. This is all a part of the cellular evolution you are going through. I wanted to relay the message of being prepared. This is the time to plan for all possibilities. Me. How will we know when the ascension has completely taken place? How will we know if or when humanity has made the choice? Also, what if the bad ETs are conspiring with the shadow governments and potentially making things worse here? Kinetic. As stated earlier, the ascension is already taking place. There is no start or end date, as it will just continue to happen. Each of you are capable of moving into that timeline much earlier than the rest of humanity. Once humanity collectively chooses the unity vibration, full intergalactic contact will be made. That is how you will know. Specifically, when choosing unity, it will be contact with the Galactic Federation and our constituents. There is a high likelihood of ill-intentioned behavior on the part of the malevolent groups. We are monitoring them and having meetings regularly regarding these matters. Me. What can we do right now to either help you or help the planet? In some ways, I feel anxious that there's so much going on and it's all out. Many of you are doing much more than you know. We are calling upon our ambassadors and advisors at this time to offer up assistance. Many of you have been pulled from your body for long periods of time in order to help us. This experience may leave you feeling tired, lightheaded, and dizzy. Many of you are working overtime attempting to help both realms. We are aware of your earthly responsibilities and want you to know that all will be rewarded for their efforts in time. Many of the retired starseeds, as you have labeled it, are doing just as much work as the volunteers who were sent with a specific mission. Those with a specified earthly path are like pieces to the puzzle. However, the ones who are currently planted there without a direction are like the glue which keeps the puzzle together. We are in need of each of you at this time. Physically, there is nothing you can do to assist. Energetically, you are either choosing to create the new earth or choosing to feed the old one. It isn't just the materialized thoughts we are concerned with. It is the frequency to which each thought is in. For example, you could be observing the state of your kitchen and either enjoying the mess as just one part of the whole, or be triggered by the mess because it isn't in the state that you would prefer. I am bringing awareness to the understanding that it isn't about changing or controlling the state of reality in its material form. It's about changing your perception of the reality through harnessing the frequency of observation. Then, and only then, will the material function of your reality change, both individually and collectively. I'm going to reread that one sentence because I think it's really important. Okay. I'm going to read this paragraph again, one sec. I am bringing awareness to the understanding that it isn't about changing or controlling the state of reality in its material form. It's about changing your perception of reality through harnessing the frequency of observation. Then and only then will the material function of your reality change, both individually and collectively. Me. When I received that message, I personally struggle a lot with control and outcomes, probably as some sort of defense mechanism. But what you're saying here is to let go of the controlling outcome and to just focus on the perception, and the outcome will change that way. Basically, it's all about the present moment. It feels like something in there clicked, so thank you for that, Kinetic, and all of these messages. Is there any last thing you would like to tell us before we disconnect? Kinetic. You are not alone. We are right by your side. We have deep compassion and love for humans and your current state of being. We understand that it is difficult to balance. We urge you to take responsibility for your awareness and frequency output. We remind you that you are at the end of this cycle. We remind you that you are powerful beings, more powerful than any other force attempting to restrain you. We remind you that you are here for a reason and that things will improve. We love you infinitely. Kinetic and all those who tuned in, this is the time. The time is now, and we are ready. Thank you all so much for being with us on this journey. Please share with others who you think this could impact. And be extra kind to yourself during these times of great solar flares. We're all in this together, so please focus on your intention. Focus on where your energy is flowing. Focus on your focus. And if you want to hear more from the Galactic Federation, you can check out some of our previous Galactic Federation summits or tune in to a future Galactic Federation summit. Until next time, I will see all of you.
Nice.
Keeps muted.
Yeah.
Just let me do it. Okay. Yeah. First of all, I'm a big fan of Elizabeth. I've met her, I've hung with her, she's great. And I recognize that maybe not everybody believes channeled messages. One way to look at it is this. I personally believe that ultimately it's a dream world. We're all having our own individual dream within a cosmic dream. And so if you resonate with what she said, great. If you don't resonate with it, or because it's channeled, it's not something that you buy into, that's okay too. We're not here to promote any one belief system. We're here to share and exchange ideas. And again, respecting Steve Bassett, who's out there busting his butt very much in the 3D world, and also appreciating those like John or Elizabeth who maybe are approaching their life and kind of their approach to life more in a 5D way. And it's all of us having our own individual journey of life, learning what we need to learn, and hopefully doing it with love. So that's kind of my commentary, and I'd love to bring Alan and Steve back on to hear what you'd like to share.
Well, I'd like Elizabeth too. I think it's hopeful, but it seems like these negative forces and seems like as above, so below, or as below, so above. So it comes back to us, each one of us, to do the right thing, to do the thing that will speak for truth and freedom. It's really up to each of us right here in this audience to push for the truth. That's why I like Steve so much. He's out there every day pushing for the truth, and John's communicating and bringing the higher energies. I mean, we're all doing our little piece. I wrote my book. I'll put that in the chat. But and you're doing this 3 times a week, Scott. So takes every little who in Whoville to hear, their voice. So that's what I have to say. Steve, any comments on Elizabeth's comments?
I'm just a simple caveman activist, and but I can tell you, I have appreciation for anybody and everybody whose belief system is nonviolent. Violence is the curse of the human race, perpetrated by us, not violence of the galaxy. It does what it does. It's not intentional. It just does. But humans are intentional, and so those who are nonviolent in their beliefs have nothing but support from me. I try to be that way too in my own way. So that's why I used to go to the New Age conferences, and that's why I enjoy the fact that a lot of the consciousness movement and people that are into these other belief systems are coming and being and speaking at the UFO conferences, like Contact in the Desert. We have a number of people that are into these areas. There's this confluence there. It's a little hard to see right now. It's a little hard to know where it's going to go. But ultimately, as Danny has said a million times, we have got to have a paradigm shift into a new worldview. And I think that new worldview will not be unitary. It will be multiplicit. But it needs to be multiplicitly nonviolent. We simply cannot have much more of that. And so that's where I'm at. And so people that are in that zone are my friends.
Beautiful. Beautifully stated. Thank you very much. I'm going to read some comments from our audience. We haven't done too much of that tonight. I like to do. So we are going to hear from some of our audience. And this is a good time if any of you want to add additional things, pop them in the chat box right now. Julia writes, this is called inclusive thought. It polishes our crystal to become the diamond, of course, in reference to what we heard from Elizabeth. Connie and Andrew write, yes, as Elizabeth was saying, it is key that we keep our thoughts and words in the highest vibration we can, as we are feeding the collective consciousness with everything we do, say, and think. Richard writes, I felt those messages. I loved it, and thanks so much for sharing it. It brings me so much hope. Dr. Laura seemed a little bit skeptical about, well, does it mean just become the observer and everything will turn out fine? I don't know if it's necessarily, that isn't quite how I interpreted it, Dr. Laura. My interpretation, and it's only that, an interpretation, is that there's what's going on in the world, and we get to choose what we're going to look at, and we especially get to choose how we choose to see it. Steve, for example, appreciates anything as long as it's nonviolent, or consciousness, or channeled. He has a high value for nonviolence, which I relate to because I do as well. So I think choosing to see things with as much compassion as possible is what I would just want to add there. And if we take a look at our favorite and the long-term spiritual teachers that lasted, they all taught compassion, whether it's the Buddha of compassion or Jesus or John Lennon, pick Martin Luther King, Gandhi. And these are all people who had violent things in their lives. They experienced violence, they experienced harsh reality, and they all taught compassion. And they're the teachers that last. So doing our best to see things through the lens of compassion, observe. Richard writes, the unfriendly ETs are afraid of us. It's clear to me in that message. And he asks who this person is again, and it's Elizabeth April. You can find her all over. Just Google her. She's got a lot of YouTube videos, and she's great. She's a lot of fun.
Scott, can I say one thing?
Yeah, of course.
One of the most powerful men in the world, President Carter, during his administration, not a single bullet was fired. I've spoken to him about UFOs. We had dinner and we spoke about that. I wrote to him about my experiences. And I think he is a great role model for someone in power that can bring peace and can also elevate and inspire humanity. And he's a great hero of mine, and he was one of the people that literally allowed me to have this mind experiment. If I were to go outside and share my music and project positive thought and love into the universe, would I get a reaction? And almost immediately the craft started coming in, and we all can do that. And I think it would be a magnificent sea change in humanity if we can recognize our own sovereignty in that way. And that's what I've been trying to do.
Beautiful. Thank you, John. I agree. I absolutely agree.
Paul had a great UFO sighting, and maybe that shifted him when he actually had that experience.
I think so. I believe that's true. Yeah.
Well, we're going to, in a moment, we're going to hear from Omar Shar, a song, and then we'll come back with our Global Peace Tribe announcements. Steve, I'd still love to promote anything you want me to promote, so please put into the chat box any link that you may want us to go to, and we'll hear from you one more time. We'll hear from Alan. But it's been a while since we've had some music. Of course, we had John's beautiful music during his video, but let's go to Omar Shar for a closing song, and then we'll come back for Global Peace Tribe announcements.
Shine a light inside, and I'll show you where your truth resides. And lift your eyes up to the skies, and I'll prove to you that nothing dies. Together we will rise again, and we'll make amends for what we've done. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So let me take your hands in mine. As I look at you, your spirit shines. You see, it's true that we are one, and we came out from the central sun. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So when you take a different view, and you dream awake, breathe out the new. The world will come alive again, as we dance and sing and make new friends. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, Let me shine a light inside, and I'll show you where your truth resides.
Let's all go to gallery view and give a twinkle to our beloved brother Omar Shar.
What a phenomenal show tonight. Holy smoke. I love the angles everything is coming from, and I love what Stephen has to say and the grounding. He's our camel brother. And I really appreciated what Elizabeth had to say about framing what you see in a higher vibration, like the kitchen. If it's dirty, what are you going to go? It's dirty. What a bummer. Or if it's dirty, well, that's a part of the natural flow of things. So I really feel in alignment with that. So thank you for sharing that video.
Absolutely. Somebody had said something. Susan points out the quote from Wayne Dyer: "When you change the way you see things, the things you see will change."
Exactly that. I saw that too. Yes, exactly.
And a reminder, everybody, that we want to support Omar Shar, and his website is his name, omashar.com, OMASHAR.com. And we like to buy his music, and we like to buy it from Bandcamp because they are the most generous at providing a few pennies or a few dimes as opposed to pennies to Omar Shar. So please do support Omar Shar.
Thank you so much, Scott. Appreciate it.
Love you so much. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Alan, to share what you want for your Global Peace Club announcements, and then we'll take a look at Steve Bassett's website.
Okay. I was just laying down during that music. I got my book out. I'm going to put that in the chat. That is now in, is there a discount on Amazon? It's only $7 on Amazon right now.
Very loud. I don't know if that's you making all that noise, but we're hearing too much noise on.
You're hearing, how's that now? Is that better?
Yeah, there's just a lot of shuffling. So is that you?
That may have been me getting into position here. Anyway, yes, my book is on sale right now on Amazon, and there's also my YouTube channel. Do you want to pull that up, Scott? My YouTube New Reality.
Sure, I'll do that right now.
You'll see yourself up there. It's New Reality. It's youtube.com/New Realities. And then I also have a remote viewing course, because what I'm doing with Making Contact is remote viewing, activating people's remote viewing skills, and then we go off planet to make contact with ETs. It's a little out there, but once you realize that consciousness is non-local, then you can use it to go anywhere and see anything. And once people are proficient in knowing what the targets are, then they go off planet, and we know, and we go to other civilizations. Yeah, this is some of the stuff that's been most recent. There's Danny thing you broadcast. This is my interview with Tim Takal, who was a Gaia expert, and this is my whole playlist series. There have a lot of UFO stuff. A lot of stuff from old Contact in the Deserts there. There's some Science and Consciousness with Deepak Chopra and Joe Dispenza. That's a great series. And channeling, do a lot of channeling. I love this woman, Lorna Byrne. We should get her on the show. She is an angel woman.
Okay.
Deepak's been on my show like 30, or every time he has a new book, he says, why don't you interview me? I say, great. And then when I had a new book, I said, Deepak, why don't you interview me? And he did. He was very generous about that. Here's Sex and Sexuality. You probably know some of those people there, Scott. Anyway, that's my YouTube channel, and I'm doing a remote viewing course in July. And
Alan, whatever you're doing, there's just like this big knocking sound.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Because it's getting in the way of people hearing you. So it was not a problem earlier today, but during most of this conversation, there's been a knocking sound.
Okay, actually, I think it happened because I was touching the screen trying to get, so you're hearing me touching the screen, touching the, but anyway, okay. So my YouTube channel, I'll put that in there later. That's youtube.com/new realities. And I'll put my remote viewing course in there. And Scott, this show has been a journey more than any others. We've taken a little ride through the galaxy and all its dimensional possibilities. So thank you for tonight. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And thank you for bringing Steve Bassett on. We did have Steve on the show a long time ago, but it's great to have him again. And Steve, I'm going to bring you up and some of your websites. Tell us a little bit. The first one I've got here is Ubiquity University. Tell us a little bit about that and what people can get out of visiting that website and participating. Steve? Hello, hello.
Is he still on the screen? Is he still on?
Yeah. Here, I'll go back. Yeah, he is. Steve, you need to unmute.
Yeah, we don't want to miss anything, Steve.
Yeah, I was saying some rather pithy things. Yeah, Ubiquity University is one of the major projects of Jim Garrison, who is one of Danny Sheehan's key partners in the New Paradigm Institute. He runs the Washington office. He has been dealing with all of the issues that you care about for decades, and this is one of his pet projects. And so I wanted you to know about Ubiquity University. And so thank you for bringing that up on behalf of Jim.
Absolutely. And tell us about, now I'm going to your Paradigm Research Group.
Yeah,
obviously, Danny calls his New Paradigm Institute. Are you two related, connected, the same?
Yeah, we're connected by the word paradigm. A big deal. And so that hooked it. But we've known each other a long, long time. And he treats me like a colleague, which is amazing because he's a legend. Now stop there. That link will take you to Shiftstorm, where you can send tag tweets to Warner, Rubio, and Schumer regarding your desire to get those hearings right away. Underneath that, oh, okay, go ahead, click through, fine.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, and the information is down below. Go a little further. And it's getting messages to them, and also it acknowledges and provides contact for the House people that really, they went public before they went in public in a way that even went past what the Senate's doing. And they of course, the three you see there are the ones that were key to the hearing that David Grush testified to. So I invite people to contact them, of course, but the focus of this particular project is on the three senators and that you see there. They do have an email contact form. I provide that, but you have to be in their state and have a state address, or provide an address in their state for that email to get through. And some people are doing that. Underneath Shiftstorm, you see something else. Scroll down just a touch. What you see there is that's essentially a Word or PDF version of the legislation that has been passed to date. And these are four of the most important pieces of legislation ever. No, scroll back up, please. Go back up. Okay, so that's the bill that was 21 UAP is the bill that was sponsored by Rubio. 22 AP is the bill sponsored by Gillibrand. 23 is the one sponsored by Warner. And then you have the bill that was finally passed for 2024. It is a fraction of the one to the right, which is a PDF version, a readable, very readable version of the original UAP Disclosure Act put in by Schumer. So I have all that up there, right, for people to check. And now if you'll scroll down a little bit, there you will have a link to the image. And then if you want to review the defense error report that was put out by the DOD, just click on that pile of poo, and you will see this grotesque 63 pages of nonsense that they put forward. That is a link to Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, which is this networking organization that Dan Harari and I launched in November of last year, which is growing very rapidly. We're looking for a Kickstarter funder that can give us the money to really get going and then help to raise more money. The link there, of course, is to Contact in the Desert coming up. I will be there. I will be very active. I hope you all can join us. It's going to be an amazing event. And then after that, you're getting down to some other things on the. And then if you want to have a little fun, bring up the site contact@sea.com. Right. Right. It's not linked there, but you can put it in the browser.
Oh, okay. Contact@sea.com.
Contact@sea.com, yes. After 28 years, I'm taking my first vacation because I was given an opportunity to go on an ocean lecture tour. and it was structured wonderfully by Susan Shumsky in a way that I was comfortable as an activist. So that's Contact in the Desert, contact@sea.com.
I got it. I got it.
Okay. As I have said in one of my Twitter posts, we're not going to need a bigger boat. That's the Ovation at Sea. And there's going to be about 25 speakers, and we're going to sail from Seattle to Alaska and back. Most of us will probably get back on the boat in Alaska and come back, but you never know. And I'll be sharing the cruise with Jimmy Church and Grant Cameron and some and Daryl Sims and a number of other colleagues.
Yeah, Geraldine and Vivian are regulars on our show. They both have been on many, many times.
I imagine.
And there's a lot of wonderful people there, and some people I don't know. So that's going to be a fun cruise.
So if you do go to that site and decide to join us, tell them Steve sent you. And I have a Twitter post out where I'm promoting this. And what I did was I put the link up. I put the photo up, and then I put a link to a rather startling YouTube video of Eric Cartman of South Park singing "Sailing Away" by Sting 6. Right?
I love that song. Come sail away, come sail away.
It's absolutely hysterical. So I got that. So if you're on Twitter, you can find my posting of Cartman singing. He sings a lot of songs, and you can actually hear him singing some of the greats if you scour. And then I eventually going to put Inya's song, which is "Come Sail Away with." Is it "Sail Away, Sail Come"? I think it's "Sail Away with Me." And I know "I'm Sailing Away" is the Stick song. Okay.
Yeah, "Come Sail Away" is the Stick song.
In India, that song I'm going to put up pretty soon, which is gorgeous, and she's gorgeous, is "Come Sail Away with Me." And this is how I'm promoting my tour, my lecture tour up to Alaska. And I invite people to come chill, literally come chill with me. So thank you.
Come chill with you.
Yeah,
Steve, thank you so much. Have a great time in Alaska. Have a great time in the desert. That's quite a contrast. And thank you for the great work you're doing. And thank you for dedicating your Saturday night to being with us. It's
my pleasure. I'm going to go to sleep now, but peace to all, nonviolence to all, a new world to all. I think it's coming. Keep the faith.
Thank you.
Bye.
Steve, what a warrior for truth. That guy's at it all the time. Thank you. See you soon, Steve.
Bye.
Yeah.
What he said is actually a nice segue to the very last announcement for tonight, which is our next show is week. We had Marianne Williamson on Wednesday night, and she, spoke very candidly about how difficult her run for the president has been and the absolute corruption of politics. Thursday night, we had a special event where we learned about the kind of white Jesus fanatical movement. And tonight was a little bit easier, UFO stuff, but on Wednesday night, I've got a very special friend. She's a very high consciousness woman. I have a lot of respect for her. Her name is Ray Amana. And she and I and Omar Shah are going to have a chat. And we're going to really dedicate the evening to heartfelt inspiration. She's a wonderful musical artist, a wonderful speaker. We'll have Omar Shah music. And we'll be providing tips, tools, practices, and music for returning to love and compassion after all the hard stuff going on in the world, some of the hard stuff we've talked about on The Awakening World this week. So that's going to be our next show on Wednesday night. Wanted to say that Piper Dellums has sent a message for us, and so I am going to hopefully play that. I'm hoping that it's going to play properly. So let's give it a go. I've been having internet issues, but we love Piper very, very much. And so here is a message, 2-minute message from Piper. Oops. Let's try that again, because it didn't work. You know, sometimes when I'm trying to play Facebook Messenger stuff, it just doesn't go so well. Although I want to acknowledge, thank you, Dorina. Dorina provides so much for us, and Dorina is who sent this my way. I have been, I get a text message from Piper usually about once a week. And, hold on.
If we can see a likely path to our desired outcome, we have hope. If we can see no possible path to our desired outcome, we have despair. If we are unsure whether there is a possible path or not, we keep hope alive, but it remains vulnerable to defeat if that path is closed. When our prime motive is love, a different logic comes into play. We find courage and confidence not in the likelihood of a good outcome, but in our commitment to love. Love may or may not provide a way through to a solution to our predicament, but it will provide a way forward in our predicament, one step into the unknown at a time. Sustained by this fierce love, we may persevere long enough that to our surprise, a new way may appear where there had been no way. At that point, we will have reasons for hope again. But even if hope never returns, we will live by love through our final breath.
It touches me deeply to see this video from her, because Piper's facing a life-threatening illness, and it's challenging. The tumors are growing right now. They're not shrinking. So let's keep her in prayers. We love Piper very much, and we look forward to when she is well enough to be back on the show doing her Piper thing. But until now, how amazing that even as she's fighting her illnesses, she still is creating such beautiful videos about the power of hope. So we love Piper very much. Of course, we saw Eleanor Joy was with us today, still in the hospital, still trying to figure it out, but she also wrote an email that I received yesterday, that she's kind of describing her scene in the hospital and saying that really looking forward to the Global Peace Tribe shows is a big part of her inspiration. So we have a beautiful community and a beautiful family, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. So thank you again, John Martin. Thank you again, Omashar. I'll bring everybody up. Thank you, of course, my compadre, Alan Steinfeld. And most of all, thank you, Global Peace Tribe, including those of you watching the replays and the recordings, which is more and more of our people, I'm learning. God's blessings, and I hope to see all of you on Wednesday night. Take care, everybody. Beautiful, sacred Sunday.
You had contact in the desert, too. Be there.
That's right. Good night, everybody.